Justin, it's been significant. There have been quite a few positive developments on the Hibiscus Coast nowadays. Starting with the Ratepayers Association saying that the municipalities seem to be turning things around, and then a few other happenings that you can tell us about.
Yeah, certainly. I think that the comments made by ratepayers and other members of the public are certainly changing in the people's perceptions of what's been done from the municipality's point of view. I can't speak for the municipalities per se, but this is feedback that we're also getting, which is very encouraging. But from a tourism perspective, I think there's a lot of optimism that we need to be cognizant of. And, besides the urban renewal programs that are envisaged for Port Shepstone, Margate, and even Scottburn, incidentally, it's not just Hibiscus Coast, it's right the way up, even including Umdoni. But I think what we believe is critically important is the need to sustain our beach infrastructure for a start. And for that reason, we're doing a second tour now this Friday to go with the checklist from a previous report to see perhaps what can and should still be done in terms of almost like a checklist from 8 months ago. So we can assist with our partners from the municipalities to say, well, look, this has perhaps not been attended to. Let's see if we can get it right perhaps for the July.
The interruption, you say we, I mean, that's tourism and the municipality.
Well, as a collective, as a collective of tourism stakeholders and also representing perhaps the interests of the private sector and also the public. The beaches are not just for tourists. They're for public amenities for our local residents from wherever they come from. So that's quite critical. The other thing that I'm very positive about now is Desi's Raceway. As you know, that he's had an expansion program to his raceway. My understanding is that there's something like 25 events being earmarked for that particular facility. And that brings tourists down. The motor enthusiasts, they travel. As you know, Africa Bike Week, people come from all over the country. And I think Desi's could well become a nice big hotspot for motorsports in the province, let alone in this area of the South Coast. One interesting new initiative is what they call Amazon Alley, which is a proposed water world near Kelso, funded purely by private sector investment, and purported to be the largest water world coming up in the whole of South Africa. So we will have then two major attractions within the water world milieu, and I think that's going to do a lot of good for the upper South Coast, for visitors, particularly from the Durban area and the metropolitan area of Durban as well. We've got a whole list. But one thing that's interesting is that I see a trend of our upper-level star-graded establishments coming to the fore. I mean, we've got the new Des Roches Hotel in Margate. We have a number of establishments that are graded now, and it's very important that the hospitality industry gets as many properties graded, and we're getting a lot more in the 4 to 5 star. And the fact that the Gorge Private Game Reserve and Spa has now been voted globally as the best boutique hotel of its type in the world is starting to get the message out that, the South Coast isn't just for those who just want to have a casual holiday. It's meeting the demand for upper-level, high-end type of hospitality. Going forward, we do have ideas going around in terms of possibly the expansion of the Margate Airport, once again enhancing the accessibility for people coming through to our area. And I think what also is important, and we've just been to the Cape Getaway show, is that new N2 development coming through from Tata. It's supposed to start in about 2017. Cape people will start coming here if they believe that the accessibility is perhaps less onerous. And as you well know, the link between Umtata and Kokstad is a very, very dangerous stretch of road. And I think if there's road improvement bringing them directly down to the coast, then we are in fact a gateway to KwaZulu-Natal for the land-based traveller, specifically through that link on the N2, coming through Bazana and then up through the Port Edward link, but also from the Eastern Cape Highlands. So we'll have two of the major conduits specifically from the Cape side of things, which is encouraging. Then there's talk of the convention centres development, and that's going to certainly enhance our business tourism and our meetings and incentives market. And then we've heard that there's going to be a techno park to the tune of about 1.2 billion rand at Shelley Beach. So that's going to also create more corporate tourism, business tourism specifically, contract workers, people like that. So I think it's very, very positive. We also have started working on establishing stronger links with the official organizations to do with the convention business, the South African Association for the Conference Industry. And it looks as though, all things being equal, there'll be a chapter representing product owners down here sitting with the South African Association for the Conference Industry, which I think is a niche that has been neglected for a number of years. And we believe that the government and private sector and corporate sector participation in business tourism is substantial, particularly when we have the airline coming in from Johannesburg. So that's a nice initiative going forward as well. Yeah, so I'm optimistic. If all the projects come through, we haven't even mentioned the Music City one, which is the multi-billion rand one that's been thrown around, and I think we've got to be cautiously optimistic, and all things being equal, if it happens, then we've got certainly a number of major pinnacle attractions that will be coming through to the South Coast.
It was noticeable, as you said, when you referred to some of the items, that there's talk of. And some of the criticism in the past has been that there's always been talk of, but when it needed to happen, it didn't happen.
Yeah.
So, I assure you guys that many of these things will happen.
For example, the Amazon Alley, that has been publicly announced, it's in the media, etc. Now, that's a private investor using private funds, and presumably all that needs to be taking place is compliance with the environmental impact assessment, planning authorizations, and so on. As far as the airport is concerned, my understanding is that it's perhaps a land issue in terms of land around the airport, but I think the Hibiscus Coast municipality can vouch for that. As far as in Gailey, for example, on the trails network, those trails are already there, they're up and running, they're happening. The events that Vanessa has been referring to today are now taking place, so that's very much a substantive form of attraction and new attraction there. As far as the beach infrastructure is concerned, yes, a lot of that might depend on funding, but certainly we as an organisation want to make sure that we are working hand in glove with our partner municipalities, because without that type of attention to the infrastructure, we might be compromising our tourism product base.
Yeah, I think a lot of negativity was caused by the Hebridean project that never got off the ground. It was in the pipeline for 10 years, and everybody thought it would happen. In the end, it did not happen. Yeah. So, the Music City. I mean, have you any inside information how far they are now?
No, I haven't. I think the best person to speak to there is perhaps the municipal manager, as far as that is concerned. But certainly, I've looked at a number of integrated development plans in this area, and in fact, this weekend, early next week, we're attending a conference in Johannesburg to do with local government and tourism. And one of the key issues is that when one reviews IDPs, one has to look very carefully to see if something's been on the shelf for too long and it's never going to happen, and then basically either replace it or revitalize it to a point where it becomes a bankable, investable project. And I think that's one of the key challenges that we face. And we do have input at IDP level through the IDP forums in the local municipalities. Because, yes, I've seen stuff going back, as you say, 10 or 15 years, and in a sense, one's got to ask the question, is it going to happen or is it not going to happen? If it doesn't, you put a line through it and find something that will.
Well, let's hold time to Justin. Thank you very much. If these things happen, we'll win up our seats.
Yes, let's be optimistic. Thank you. Thanks, Johan.